and welcome back to another episode of Making Data Useful with Adam. I'm back here on data.gov.au, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to jump in and understand some of the data that's available and kind of go through a bit of an end-to-end analysis from the data collection to the transformation to the visualization. And I thought what we could do in this video is really start with that data collection and see how we can overcome some of the challenges that we face when we're collecting data. Not all data sources are created equal. Sometimes we do have to deal with lots of Excel data, and I've got a really good example for you today. So what I've been able to do is I've been able to navigate over to the Taxation Statistics 2019-2020. It looks like it's got some really interesting data that we can slice, dice, and put into different dimensions and really have some fun with. But the key challenge here is that it is almost 100 XLSX files. There's a download button we can click, but us being data people, we don't want to be there clicking the button 100 times. We want to automate that. So what we're going to do in this video is we are going to download every single one of these files in an automated way because we don't want to have to click that button 100 times. Let's get into it. Let's get started. What we're going to do is we are going to take this particular URL, which is a data.gov.au URL. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to call this one data.gov.au auto downloader. Okay, a little bit of a original title there. Let's go ahead and import requests. Now, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. There's more content coming. But if you haven't seen what I'm looking at on my screen here, this is a Jupyter Notebook. I've downloaded this one via Anaconda, but you can download it directly through other means. Jupyter Notebooks are great. They're an awesome way to interact with Python. I'm a big fan of them. And while I'm sort of doing discovery mode, it's really helpful to be able to sort of open it up and, shift enter into this and sort of, create new cells and do all that sort of stuff. So we're going to be using requests today. If you've seen any of my previous videos, I'm a big fan of requests. It's a great way to get information from the internet. First I'm going to do is define the URL. We can make this a bit more dynamic later if we wanted to point it to different pages, but for now we'll leave it as is. We won't try to optimize too early. We'll run that, and now what we've got is the URL. I'm going to create a variable called response, and in response it's going to hold the response object of requests.get URL. Now it's poor practice not to put headers in there, so I probably should, but I think the default headers just say, hey, I'm Python. I would like to think data.gov.au isn't going to sort of block us from automatically downloading things. It's a data website. We're data people. We're going to want to automate these things. So let's go ahead and shift enter on that, and let's check out the response we get. So we've got a response of 200, which is awesome. And I'll just do .text. This is going to bring back the entire HTML of the page. This one looks a little bit light on. So what's happened here? So for full functionality of the site, necessary to enable JavaScript. Oh, it says we need JavaScript to be able to use the website. Instructions how to enable JavaScript enabled. Okay, I could fight the website and try to figure out how to make that happen, or I could just use Selenium. So use a bit of a WebDriver, web browser thing to sort of boot up and go off and navigate to the website, which will have JavaScript enabled. Not great for fully automated, but for this purposes, it will be a bit of fun. So I'm going to jump into the getting started with Selenium. If you haven't seen this before, check it out. It gives you a really good example. We'll grab that one now and just sort of talk through it. So we're going to import the WebDriver. This is the thing that actually drives the Chrome. And I prefer Chrome. And I actually prefer a WebDriver manager. So the way Selenium works is it uses a Chrome driver, which drives your current version of Chrome, the desktop application. And so this just makes sure that you've got it set up correctly. And this is how it looks. So first of all, I'll do is I will create a new cell, and I'll actually just paste in !pip install, just making sure I've already got it installed. Great, that's awesome. And then over here, I'll go back to the WebDriver and I'll say, okay, that's good, that's good, that's good. We want to use this one. So I'll talk you through that as well. Where are we? So from WebDriver manager.chrome, import Chrome. So driver is equal to WebDriver Chrome. And then here is where it's sort of doing the automatic install. So we'll grab that and we'll go down to here and we'll start to say driver.get. I don't want any, find element, blah, blah. No, actually, I'm going to do this a weird way. Trust me, it's going to be fun. So now we've got Selenium. From Selenium, import WebDriver. From WebDriver manager.chrome, import Chrome. What we're going to do is we're going to take our URL, which is this one here, and we're going to pop it in here. Oh, didn't mean that. And we'll close that off. We'll run that, and we'll make sure I get everything set up correctly. I think I've missed a bracket there. Cool. Getting the latest, trying to download. Driver has been saved in cache. That's great. And as you can see, it's popped a window, and it says Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. So what we can actually do now that it's popped with all of that, I should be able to say driver.source, I think. Nope, that's wrong. Driver.source. Nope, that's wrong. Oh, what is it? Let's Google it. Selenium get page source. And you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure there's a previous video where I've actually done this correctly. How to get page as it is in the browser using how to get the entire page source using Selenium. Here we go. It's page underscore source. Good one, Adam. So let's put that in there. It's an attribute, so we'll run it like that. And now we've got some HTML. So I'm going to say HTML equals that. And then I'm going to say driver dot, I'm going to use close. Let's double check with the driver dot close. Yep, perfect. So what that means is this currently is window popped here. Shift enter on that, and that window is now gone. But what I'm left with is a little bit of HTML. So this can be fairly well automated. There is ways to stop the actual browser from popping it at all. So it just kind of happens in the background. So what I can do now is I can actually go ahead and up here, actually what I'll do is just move that down. So here I've got all my imports. I'm also going to add an import to that, which is from, you guessed it, BS4 import Beautiful Soup. So for those that are new, again, please subscribe. It helps the channel. Beautiful Soup is an amazing web scraping package that allows you to interrogate HTML really, really easily. There's a heap of different ways you do it. I'm probably a little bit old school, still using the sort of find methods. Find methods. So let's go ahead and do something like this. So we'll say, we'll create a new variable. We'll call it soup, and soup is equal to, what are we thinking? Beautiful soup, open and close bracket, beautiful. You know what I haven't done? I haven't shift entered on that because that should happen automatically. And if I don't add anything extra here and hit shift enter, it'll default to a parser, meaning it will just figure out how to parse the HTML. So what that will look like is if I go into soup and I say .title, I've now got the title of the web page, and I could say title.text, and it'll give me the text. Cool. So if we go back to the web page now that we're here, and I'm almost impressed by myself of how quickly we're able to sort of switch over to Selenium. I'm not impressed by myself. I take that back. I'm impressed by Python and how just quick and easy it can make things. It's a really powerful tool. So let's quickly recap. So we're importing Selenium, which is great. The main part of that is the WebDriver that allows us to pop a window. Here just saves me an absolute headache of trying to figure out how to match the two versions of Chrome. From BS4 import Beautiful Soup is what we're about to dive into now. I first define a URL, which is cool because then I can sort of structure this in a way that I can pass it any data.gov.au URL, and we can build it so we'll just download anything. It's available as a file. Driver is the sort of object or the variable name that we assign to this. It goes off and gets the URL. Then we ask for the page source. That gets assigned to HTML, which is our new variable. And then we close off the driver, and that's that sort of part of the process done with. Then we create a new variable called soup, which is now the part where we're going to start to interrogate the page, and the page being the HTML, which, if you recall, is the page source. So, give me a second. Whew. All right, let's keep going. Now, what we've got is a whole bunch of files and APIs, but there's not many APIs. It's all just files. I think there's like 5 APIs. I don't even know where they are. Well, they've gone. There was more links before. This is really weird. Okay, so what does that look like? To do this, what we need to do is I'm going to right click and inspect. And what I'm looking for here is sort of the row that sort of encapsulates both the title, because I want to use that as the file name, just so I know what it's actually talking about. I'm sure the file names aren't too terrible, but you can be too careful. So let's actually have a look. So the file name is, this is a link that goes into the file, but the actual download is, where is it? Oh, as you hover over, it's highlighting different elements. So then this element here, this span, where are we? Oh, it's called no print. That's kind of weird. In here, then we have the data set, and that has a file name. So it has download, and it has tax stats 2020 index. Ooh, it's not bad. I might accept the file name. Let's try a different one. Let's inspect this one. If it looks like individual finance ratios, then I'm going to accept it. TS20 financial ratios 1 individuals. Okay, these files are actually pretty well named, so it's not me being lazy, but I'm going to accept them. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to make it really easy on ourselves. We're going to soup.find. We're going to find all. We're just going to find all of the new keyboard and all of the A's. And what I mean by that is all of the hyperlinks. Everything that's in an Ahref is just going to be made available to us. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, I'm not interested in every single link on the page because there's a bunch of links here that aren't data sets. So why don't we say, give me all the ones that start with maybe this part, data set. Now I'm going to double check to make sure this one isn't formatted the same at the beginning because that would ruin my plan. So let's go ahead and inspect that. This one's just /data set. So I think this is probably the way to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, give me everything that has https.data.gov. So let's, oh, I clicked on it. Oh, now I downloaded it. Okay, that was, yep, that was a happy little accident. Let's copy, I guess, the element. Like, what does that do? Let's find out. Oh, that's like a whole thing. That's fine. So let's grab this part, and this is cool because this will give us part of the URL. And then what we can do is, let's grab this. So we're going to find all. I'm going to actually assign this to a variable so my expression doesn't get too long. So I'm going to call this, it's a bit long as well, start of URL, okay, which is this part here. And then what I'm going to do is right now I've actually got this results in basically a list. You can tell by the square brackets, but it's kind of a list of sort of elements. And in there, each of those elements is the beautiful soup representation of a URL, every single URL on the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use list comprehension. I'm going to say link for link in, and I'm going to close that off. Run that again. Nothing actually changes, but what we now have access to is this variable within this sort of list called link. So I can now say something like link, I always get this one wrong, starts with start of URL. Oops. So I'll try that again, put an if statement in there. And non-type object is not callable. Okay, that's annoying. Non-type object is not callable. So if link, well, actually, I take that back because the reason I got that error, that's my fault. If link, I can't just access link. I actually access the href in the link. So I go href dot starts with start of URL, shift enter. Beautiful. So it's a bit tricky to look at, but I really like list comprehension. It keeps everything down to a single line. And when it does get a bit long, you can chop it up and put certain aspects, certain elements of it into their own variables. And it becomes a lot more readable. You know, start of URL is this, and I'm saying link for link in this find all links. Okay. If the link href, which is, if you look at the actual website, it's actually got a thing called href, which I love about Beautiful Soup because I can ask for all the A's, which is this part here, and then I can say, give me the href by just putting it in square brackets. I could probably have also put in target, and it would, in relative, will give me whatever I want, as long as I put it in square brackets, which I think is really handy. Cool, so now I have what I believe to be, and I'm very descriptive in my variable names, all the download links. I think I have all the download links. So let's actually check that by just saying, what's the length of this? 98, which is pretty decent. On the assumption that all of them have XLSX in them. Okay, so 95, and it looks like I've got 98. So let's have another little look at this thing. What I'm probably also going to want to do is I'm probably not wanting to get the whole Beautiful Soup element. I'm probably going to want to get the href out. So let's tweak that ever so slightly. Shift enter. And I'm asking for the href, which is this part here. So why isn't that working? Let's have a look. So I'm asking for the href. So I've got a bit of a problem here. Let me think about this. So Each one, I'm asking for the href, but it's not. What's it doing? It's weird. I'm expecting it to return just this part, but why isn't it? Adam, think about this. All download links. All down. Oh, I didn't refresh the cell. So there's a hot tip, guys. If you are looking at the data, make sure you shift enter again, because it will say something different. Cool. So now that I've done the first pass, it looks like, if you think about it, let's pick the first element here. And if we use a bit of string slice notation, what we can say is something as simple as give me, say, -4 forwards. Okay, so colon and all the way to the end. And what that looks like is XLSX. I might want to say -5. And then I might want to say, does that equal XLSX? And it will say true. And it's very similar to how I did this first pass. I could do an AND statement in here, but the data's not huge. It might just be easier on our eyes to then say, well, actually, let's have a think about this. Link for link in all the download links. Now we no longer need that 0 because we're talking about all elements. And what we're saying is if link, go back 5 spaces and think, move all the way forward. Does it equal XLSX? And anything that's true will return. So before I had 98 links, I might still have 98 to be honest. Let's have a look. Oh, I got 95, which is the expected number. That now tells me that there is a couple of files, there we go, that are not XLSX. But for now, let's leave it XLSX because that's what we're looking for. So we'll grab that. And like I said, this could quite easily be, and we can probably even do it here, if that and this part, and so this time it's here, so and this, wait a second, is equal to this. Now that should work. Let's rerun the whole thing and test it. Oh, this is very strange. I've usually got a number of errors by this point, so I'm kind of freaking out. But now we have a bunch of links, which is really cool. So what do we want to do with that information? So what we want to do is we actually do want to go ahead and download every single one of these files because that's what we're here to do. We're here to download 95 Excel files. So how do we do it? Now, what we're going to do is we are going to do a for loop. So for, we'll call it link in all the download links. Let's do a bit of a test. Let's print the link of the first one and let's put a break on straight after that. So what that gives us is this first URL, which is really cool. With this, I'm going to do some testing just outside of the loop. So I'll take my variable called link, and that's the cool thing about Python and the for loop. Even things that are happening within the loop, the very last iteration of that is available outside the loop. So now that I've got the link, what I want to do is similar to before where I was attempting to use requests to download the HTML page, which wasn't great because we had to have JavaScript turned on, so we fell back onto Selenium. I think we should be able to use requests to download the binary object. So what do I mean by that? Why don't we do for, no, what am I doing? Let's do, we'll first start with a response, request.get, and we're going to get the link. And then we're going to check the response. So, oh, spell things. Here's an error. Requests. Oh, requests. No, what am I doing? Sorry, response. Requests. Ta-da. Cool. So did I get a response from that? 200. Awesome. Now, if I was to ask for, say, .text, I would get some very weird output. I would get, if you were to try to open an Excel file in Notepad, right? It's the whole heap of binary data because it isn't text, right? It's an Excel file. In fact, it's an XLSX file. And we know that because we've filtered all of them on XLSX. So what we need to do is we actually need to go ahead and we need to get the Excel file. So what we can do is we can actually say something like .content, and .content is going to generate a binary format. And then from that, we can actually save it to disk. So the way we're going to do that is we've got this thing called link. And so from link, first of all, we also need to get a file name. So to get the file name, what we can do is we can have a look at link and we can say, right, everything's kind of got a /. So what we can do is we can split up the link, split up the link by the /. And what that's going to do for us is it's going to generate a list, which is really handy, right? And we know for a fact that the very last element in the list is the actual file name. So what we can do is we can say -1 Adam. And we've got the file name, which I'm having way too much fun. So now I can just call this file name, okay, is now equal to that. So we've got a few key components here. We've got a file name and we've got the ability to get the actual sort of binary object by using response.content. So what we need to do now is we need to save it as a file. So we can say something like with open. And what we're actually opening is the file name. And what we're actually doing is we're going to write a binary file, okay, as f. Cool. And then we're going to say f dot write. Come on, Adam, use your brain. Response dot, where are we? Content. Awesome. So that's now written this file name, which is this one here, to the file system. So to quickly test that, we can import OS and we can do os.listdir, and I can see that file now exists. Let's pull that one out for a moment because what I'm looking to do is import pandas as pd.read Excel. We'll paste that in just for testing, shift enter. And that should return a data frame of the first sheet, which it did, which is awesome. And the first sheet looks like it's got a bit of a table or an index of things. So that's really exciting. What I can now do is kind of really just loop through and download all of them. So let's go ahead and package that all up into one neat little sort of loop, which is this one here. Okay, let's have a look. So we're going to say for link in all the download links, response equals request.getLink, file name equals this guy, with open file name as write bytes as f.write response.content. That's really neat. To make things a bit more fun, what we can also do is we will just print out the file name as we're going, and we'll go ahead and just power through them. So that's it's really quick. Awesome. So I'm going to sit back, maybe fast forward this a little bit, and I'll see you guys shortly. Alrighty, that was really quick. So if all has gone to plan, now if I go and say import os.listdir, and yeah, now there's a bunch of files there, which is fantastic. Which is really exciting. So that is how we go ahead and download a heap of Excel files. I don't want to drag this video on for too long, so I'm going to make a few follow-up videos for this exact project. So please, I encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. Drop a comment to let me know what you want to see out of this sort of ongoing little series on these data sets. I'm thinking, why don't we go end to end, from data collection, data cleaning, data munging, transforming, visualization, and even start to look at other tools like maybe Power BI or something similar, prepping data for that so we can build a cool dashboard and that type of thing. So leave a comment, let me know what you want to see. I'll drop this URL into the description so you can even check it out to see if there's anything really interesting you want to see in there. I think for the next video we'll definitely be going into how to sort of automate the discovery of all this data. So we've now got 95 spreadsheets. It's not a great place to be, but I'm already noticing that there is some file names which make a lot of sense to be grouped together, and then how do we do that so if they've got the same, or at least how do we detect what metadata is in them, and go ahead and start to go through that. So yeah, drop a comment, let me know what you want to see. I'm really excited to start digging into this data. I think it's got some really interesting insights, even if it is tax data. It's not the most fun subject for some, but I think it's quite interesting to see the different ways we can slice, dice, and cut this data, because the skills we pick up here can be transferred to anything. So again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you are not a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Talk to you soon.